you say perhaps your next life, you want to see all this happen, your next life is as sure as the next administration that has just been declared winner of these elections in our country. Are you tired? Would you like to play this continuous role of being the Minister of Works and Housing?
You know that if I had joined government immediately I left school, this is the year I would retire. I'll be 60 this year. So does that say something?
Okay. But your expertise,
so you know that if they don't catch you with 35 years, they'll catch you with 60. So if I joined government the day I left school in 1988, this is the year I would have retired.
Okay. Interesting.
In June. So it's just close by.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that, you know, and I've told everybody who cares to listen that I will continue to serve my country, but I don't need a title to serve my country. And all of us, not everybody can get into government, but that doesn't mean many people are not serving Nigeria out of government. And that's what all of us must continue to do. Being good citizens, doing our duties under Section 24 of the Constitution is the first service that we can render. And you don't need a title to do that. You only need the office of the citizen, which is a brilliant office to hold.
Minister, sir, in 2015, you had 3 portfolios boxed into one. One of them was Minister of Power. Are you saddened at the level of electricity delivery in our country today?
You know, there were some things. Let me first of all say that yes, it was unprecedented perhaps to merge power with works and with housing. But the president knew what he was doing, because the Ministry of Power that I inherited was a Ministry of Power that had been privatized. And I've asked people to take time before we comment, before we pass judgment, to acquaint ourselves with changes that have taken place in our space. Before 2013, that ministry used to have over 50,000 staff. By the time the privatization took place, and by the time I became minister, there were less than 700 staff in the ministry. Most of the staff had been transferred to the discos, to the gencos, and to the transmission company. There had been a policy reform based on the agitation of Nigerians to privatize the sector. The privatization entailed that a regulator was created. That is the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission. Those are the people who run the sector. The minister's role was just policy making and the issuance of directives. That's why you will see that some of my landmark contributions as Minister of Power was giving directions to stop CAPME, which was being used to collect money for meters, and meters were not being supplied. Stop that. Was giving directions to pay debts owed to discos, which was done. Was giving directives to create new meter asset providers instead of relying only on discos to supply meters. Was initiating directives for new regulations to create an alternative grid. So for those who are saying we have only one grid, it's a lie. They're not following policy. Apart from the national grid, we have approved mini grids. It happened during my time. So that you can have independent grids based on what we did from Lagos. Up to, I think, 100 kilowatts or so, you don't need a license. Over 100 kilowatts and beyond, you have to apply to NERC to license you. So those grids are working. And we've demonstrated before I left the power of independent grids in Sabon Gari market, Aria market, in Sura market, in Lagos. Those people have uninterrupted power. And that's what people should do more of. Happily, the president has also assented now to bills and enacted constitutional amendments to allow states play in the sectors of the electricity industry covered by the national grid. But people forget that as far back as 2010, states could set up transmission, distribution, and generation companies under an amendment made to the Constitution in 2010. I think it's Article 15 or so, 14, 15, and 16 of the second schedule, allowing states to transmit, distribute, and generate electricity. The only caveat was that it must be in a place not covered by the national grid. Well, how many states have used that? Not enough, in my view. But the president has actually now, with the constitutional amendment, now said even in places covered by the national grid, which is the new amendment now, states can play. So it is not accurate to say that we have only one grid. And those who are agitating for the grid to be decoupled, the grid has been decoupled. Go and set up more mini grids.
Why do we have the tariffs so high up till this time?
Well, the tariffs are a function of economics, and you will see, even in our historical partner and former colonial government, the United Kingdom, energy crises have gone up across the entire world. So it's a service. So we have to find more creative ways to consume less so that we pay less. And there's so many things that people can do. In my house, for example, when people come at night, they say, oh, Minister, that you don't put on the lights in your sitting room at night. I say, we are watching television and we are using our phone. We don't need electricity to see that. I have installed solar panels since when I was Minister for Power. So I run less generators. Then I bought flask because I drink coffee. Every time you put on a kettle, it's a lot of energy you are consuming. Kettles, air conditioning, water pumps, that's why they are measured in horsepower. You are consuming a lot of energy, so you see the bill at the end of the month. So we boil the kettle once, pour the hot water into a flask. So these are some of the things you need to do. It's real.
Mr. Minister.
So you have water heater in your house where you are going to shower, you put on the water heater for 2 hours, you will see your energy bill at the end of the month.
Adjusting to that is difficult.
Well, you can drill a hole in your pocket. So these are the real things. And you see, I'm going to say this because I'm writing a monograph about this also. It's just about diagnosis of a problem. We need to diagnose rightly. You know, we say that we have only 4,000 or 5,000 megawatts of electricity in the country. But that's not true. That's not correct. That is what is on the grid. Do we measure our GDP as a country by only what is on the grid? Certainly not. We measure the entire productive activity of Nigeria based on energy produced from generators. But I have news for you. The electricity produced from generators is electricity. Electricity has no ownership. It's agnostic to the source of fuel. Whether it is diesel, whether it is solar, whether it is generator, whether it is PMS. And to prove this point, when you are taking energy from the grid and the grid goes off and you are charging your phone, when you put on your generator and you charge the phone, does your phone say, I don't want this power? Does it ever reject that electricity? So why are you not accounting for that electricity? Because it's part of your GDP. All the factories who are self-generating, if we are taking the totality of what they are producing as part of our GDP, we can't ignore the energy they are producing. So we may have a problem with how clean that energy is, but it is energy. So we need to rephrase our conversation. It's not that we don't have the energy, maybe it's not clean, we want to convert it to clean, less noisy. That's the problem we have. And our mini-grid policy solves that problem efficiently if people can play by those rules. So it's not accurate to say we have 4,000 megawatts.
Okay, what would be your response to people who are of the notion that after Mr. Babatunde Raji Fashola disagreed with supporting discos into renewing their licenses, for instance, that in itself made the tariffs go up?
I disagreed with, say that again, I don't understand that.
You did not support the renewal of licenses by the discos who have acquired licenses from the government, dating back from the Jonathan administration.
That issue never came up. It had nothing to do with tariffs. In fact, you will recall that shortly after we took office as ministers, tariffs were increased. You'll recall that.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the whole country really was up against it. The discos who were the beneficiaries didn't come out to say a word. It was me, as minister, who put my integrity and my goodwill on the line, asking Nigerians to bet on it, that with increased tariffs, they could meet their obligations, and that we expected that electricity supply and performance would improve. And it did improve, albeit gradually. Because feedback we got then, and this is not any adverse comment on my successors, but feedback we got, we were measuring, was that people's consumption of diesel was going down. I could also feel it at home. It was experiential for me, and there was some predictability, and we promised incremental energy which we were getting. And much more progress has been made, especially with the presidential power project. And the current minister, my colleague, Abubakar Aliyu, is driving that, and you will see the results because I am involved as a board member of the project implementation company for Nigeria, and I know how much hard work the current Minister of Power is doing. It's been uphill, but all the bolts and nuts are being put in place, and we will have a better experience as implementation takes foothold.